Hello and welcome to the first episode of a series on how to program your TI-84 calculator. These instructional videos will also work for your TI-83, so if you're using one of those, don't worry. You can follow along and everything will be almost exactly the same. There are some minor differences between the TI-84 and the TI-83, but those are not going to be used in our programming techniques. You can follow along with my mouse and the buttons that I click so you won't get lost in what I'm doing. If you're curious to what this calculator is, this is WabbitEmu. It's an emulator of a TI-84 calculator. You can download it online. It's pretty fantastic. So we're going to start by doing the basic thing that everybody does when they create a program, and that is create a new program. To do that, you click on your program button right here, and you can scroll over to new. So we're going to create a new program. Now we need to name our program. To type letters on the TI-84, you just click alpha and click one of the keys, and there will be a green letter above it. Now we could click alpha every time when we want to click a new letter, but instead we're going to lock the alpha. By locking the alpha, we don't have to press it every single time, and we can just type letters. To lock it, you press second alpha. Let's name this program test. T-E-S-T. Okay, press enter to create it. Now one thing that I always do when I start a program, whether I'm going to need it or not, I do need it very often, but I do it anyways, is I create a flag at the beginning. A flag is very useful. A flag lets you go back to where it is placed in the program. So I'm going to create a flag right here. It's under the button program, and you go to the control functions and label A. So at the beginning of the program, I have a flag that says, hey there, I'm flag A. So if I ever want to go back to the beginning, I can just tell the program to go back to flag A, and it'll go here. This can be completed with the Goto function, which we're going to use later. So now that we have our flag at the beginning of the program, let's go into the next line. Now there are two main ways to input information into a program. We'll input two variables so we can use both of the methods. To do some type of input, you go to Program and you go to the Input-Output menu. Input, what it does is it simply displays a question mark and you input a number. Prompt asks you to input a number, but it tells you which variable you're inputting into. This is useful if you have many variables in a program, say in a sequence program, and you have to input n for the number of term. It'll ask you what n equals rather than just displaying a question mark. So we'll use both of them. First we'll do input variable A. So it'll display a question mark, and when you input a number, it'll store that number into variable A. Then we'll use prompt B. So that means the program will ask you to input a number for variable B. Alright, so now we have two inputs. Now we want to perform a mathematical operation on variable A and variable B. Let's take A, multiply it by 3, and subtract 2. So once we do this, the program will perform a mathematical operation on variable A, and that will equal some new number. Of course, we want to know what this new number is. That's why we're creating the program. So we have to store that into a variable. Let's store this new number that's going to be produced with variable A into variable X. Okay. Now we want to do the same thing for B. Let's say we want to take variable B, we want to square it, subtract 10. Let's store that into variable Y. Letters can be used for flags, and they can be used for inputs, and they can be used for variables. So now that we have these performed mathematical operations and we're stored them into a variable, we want to display them so we know what the answers to our question are. So what we're going to do is we want a clear home screen when we want to display these variables. To clear the home screen, you go to Program, Input-Output, scroll down to clear the home screen. So now the home screen will be cleared, and let's say we want to output the new answer to what our A was. This is going to use the display function. Go to input output, go to display. Now we're not sure which variable is X and which variable is Y, so we have to label them. Let's display, let's lock on our alpha, put in quotation marks, X, space, we want to say equals. To do equals, you go to second math, equals, close parentheses, comma, X. Actually, we don't want to say X equals, we want to say A equals because we inputted variable A. So what this does is it displays a string of text. between the quotation marks that you place, that's what will be displayed, comma. If you put a comma and then you put a variable, it'll display the value of the variable. So we inputted a, and then it'll output the value of x, which is the value of x is found right here. Now we also want to display variable b. If you only want to display a variable, you can simply go over to display and click on the variable. Actually, we don't want to display b, we want to display the value of y. So this will display the value of the y variable, which is found right here. If you only want to display a string of text, you can just go to display. Let's put on our alpha lock. Now, if somebody can't perform that, we'll just dummy. Okay, so it'll display the properties of the quantities of the variables, and then it'll call us a dummy. Okay, now we want to make sure we have time to read our answers, so we're going to pause the program. To do that, you go to Program, Control Functions, go to number 8, which is pause. What this will do is it'll wait for the user to press enter. Once the user presses enter, it'll proceed to the next line and the subsequent lines below it. Okay, so now that it's paused, we want to clear the home screen again. And then, this is why the flag that I put in the beginning is useful. We want to go back to the beginning of the program. How do we go back to the beginning? Well, we have a flag up top here. Flag A, label A. So we want to tell the program to go to flag A. That's under control functions. Go to flag A. And it'll perform a simple operation by going to the beginning of the program again. Alright, let's test out the program. Quit out of that, go to Program, Execute Test. The question mark simply asks for the input. So let's put in 5 for A. And as you remember, we used prompt for variable B. So it actually asks us what B equals. Let's put in 10 for B. As you saw, it performed the mathematical operation for B, and it simply displayed only the value of B, and then it called us a dummy. Now, as you see, there's a little dotted thing right here. What that means is that's our pause. Remember that we put in pause in the program? It's waiting for us to press enter. So once we press enter, it'll go back to the beginning of the program again. Ask us for A. So let's put in 10 for A. Let's put in 100 for B. There you go. It displays the new mathematical operated A and B. Asks us for enter, and we can do this as long as we want. Of course, this program has no use because we didn't actually apply it to any formulas or anything. But that's the basic idea of inputs, outputs, and how to display information. Now, there's one little issue that people get stuck with, is right here, we're in an infinite loop. The program keeps on looping because we just put go to the beginning of the program, and it's going to keep going to the beginning of the program. How do you get out of a program that keeps on going to the beginning? Press the on button. It'll say break. You can just clear that, get out of it, and you're back on the home screen. So there you go. That's how you create a simple programming. On the next episode, we're going to use these skills to apply it to the quadratic formula and how to input the quadratic formula into your calculator so you don't have to solve it with the quadratic formula, which takes forever. Alright, see you next time.